Welcome. Welcome to the new JW Marriott Indianapolis. We are so honored to have you joining us here today for our very special Griffin Unveiling and Back on My Feet grand opening luncheon. Thank you for taking the time to spend the part of the day with us on this special occasion. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome a few special guests with us today. I'd like to welcome Mr. Dave Grissom, who is the president for Marriott International, President of the Americas. Dave, thank you for joining us today. Also joining us today is Jim Kaufman, who is the Executive Vice President for the Western Region for Marriott International. Jim, thank you. Kathleen Matthews, who is the Executive Vice President of Global Communications for Marriott. Thank you for joining us. Todd Walters, who's the Vice President for Franchise and Full Service Hotels. Todd, thank you for joining us. And then a very special guest with Bill Marriott joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Marriott, for being here. No. Also from the Marriott Group, we have Tammy Ruth and the Enterprise Sales Team for Marriott International, who has been a tremendous supporter of the JW Marriott Indianapolis. And then also a special guest with Mr. Dave Sibley, our Chief Executive Officer for White Lodging Management Division. Dave, thank you for joining us. And now I'd like to introduce our first speaker to come up and join us today. And while we get started, please enjoy your salads and your lunch, and we'll carry on. It's my pleasure to introduce the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of White Lodging, Mr. Bruce White.
What a great day. I've always dreamt that I could get close enough to Mr. Marriott where he would adopt me. I've always wanted to be introduced as part of the Marriott group, but I guess I'll just have to be a Marriott wannabe. This is a great opportunity today. Obviously, we're very proud of the JW Marriott. We're very proud of our relationship with Back on My Feet. But I really want to tell a very quick story. Back in the late 1980s, I'd just gotten married, and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. At that time, we'd had, with my wife, my life. I later found out that my wife would tell me what I was going to do with my life. But she's a good Hoosier girl, so no problems. And we had 4 little motels at that time, Carlton Lodges. Those of you from Fort Wayne or Goshen or Valparaiso or Maryville probably remember those. They later got converted to Courtyard by Marriott's. But every time we went out to try to develop another Carlton Lodge, and we talked to the realtors, Marriott was already there with Courtyard and Fairfield Inn, and they were always willing to pay more money for the ground than we were. So I finally said to myself, you know, there's really no future in building these small independent motels. And I was going up to have a conversation with my father and saying, I'm going to do something else. So it was actually a true story. And so I got on the elevator. At that time, my offices were in the same building as my father's. I got on the elevator to go up to the 7th floor. And on the elevator, I recognized a guy. His name was Mike Ruffer. And at the time, he worked for Marriott, was in charge of Fairfield Inn. And I said, Mike, I want to introduce myself. I'm Bruce White. I know we don't know each other, but we have some sites that we got for Carlton Lodges, and I'd like to sell them to you for Fairfield Inns because we're getting out of the business. And he said, Bruce, we don't know each other, but I've heard about you and your company, your small company. He said, we're just starting to have conversations about franchising Fairfield Inns, which at that time was a very, very hotly debated topic within Marriott of whether they should start franchising. He said, I'd love to have you come out to Washington and meet with us to see if you'd like to become our first Fairfield Inn franchisee. So I got on the plane, I went out to Marriott, and it was me and about 18 people in the room from Marriott. Now, Mr. Marriott, you'll be pleased to know that now when I go out to Marriott, there's about 2 or 3 of the Marriott people, and we got 14 or 15 white lodging people. So, but we decided to become the first franchisee of Marriott, and I went from exiting the business, and with the strength of the Marriott brand, it generated the confidence in us as an organization that we were part of a worldwide leader. They gave us, they let us share their culture, their productive service culture, which we quickly adopted. They certainly gave us credibility with our lenders, and later actually gave us credit enhancement that allowed us to grow at an accelerated rate. And most importantly, they gave us confidence in ourselves, because we thought if Marriott would not only endorse us but embrace us as a partner, we were really inspired to do our best. So at that point in time, that was our 4th hotel, 132-room Fairfield Inn in Maryville, Indiana. And we now have I don't know how many Marriott hotels. Most of them are Marriotts. We have a total of 155 and over 23,000 rooms. And none of that would have happened without Bill Marriott and the support of the Marriott organization. So Mr. Marriott personally and Marriott, strong advocates of the tourism. We think of ourselves, my daughter asked me the other night, she said, Dad, you know, she wants to be a college professor, an English professor. And she was complaining to me that when she gets together with her friends, all these academicians, that when they talk about the books they share with their parents and the cultural activities they do with the parents, she goes, well, Dad, you and Mom, you don't share any books with us, and we don't go to museums together, and all you do is read those darn business journals. She goes, it's kind of embarrassing for me. She goes, I don't know what to tell them about my family. And I said, I'll tell you what. She goes, and don't you ever get tired of just building those small motels? Where's the gratification then? I said, I'll tell you what. And this is where Mayor Ballard, who's going to speak next, understands this. I said, you tell your friends and your professors that your parents are not limited intellectually because they're Hoosiers, but we understand the value of jobs and job creation. And we're out there, when we build a hotel, we're creating jobs. When we build the tourism industry, we're creating jobs. And I don't think there's probably any better example of that than a public-private partnership between the city and the state and us in the development of the JW Marriott. And I'm sure people will speak to this, but we are taking the expansion of the convention center, the airport, Lucas Oil, and now with the JW, and we're taking the local industry to a whole new level. And I'm very proud to say that in the hotel here alone, we have 650 new jobs. And somebody gave me the notes, but in the state of Indiana, and we've invested over $600 million since that first Fairfield Inn in Maryville, Indiana, and now have over 2,500 associates in the state of Indiana. So with that, it really is my distinct pleasure to introduce Mayor Ballard, because there is nothing that he won't do to assist this industry. And when it comes to site tours, tours of the city, getting over to meet with a very important meeting planner, he's a great spokesperson, and we really appreciate very, very much his support, and it's working for everybody involved. So with that, Mayor Ballard.
Thank you, Bruce, for those kind words, and Mr. Marriott, welcome to Indianapolis. We're so pleased you're here today. I will tell you that this hotel has already made its mark on the skyline of Indianapolis. As it was going up, I think everybody knew that it was going to change the skyline a little bit, and it's just wonderful to see it driving in from every angle, and it's really dramatic. And it really has had a great impact here already on the city of Indianapolis. I think this is my 6th or 7th time being in this hotel already in the first month. I'm anticipating that might slow down a little bit, but I'm really looking at this crowd. I'm not so sure. There's a lot happening in this hotel already, and I really do appreciate that. And this really is a key part of the overall strategy for the convention and the tourism industry. As Bruce mentioned, so many things have happened in the city of Indianapolis in the last few years. And it's extremely important to realize just how vital it is to Indianapolis to have a thriving convention and tourism business in our city, and it will continue in that way. And this hotel is really dramatically increasing our ability to attract those large conventions in Indianapolis. I will tell you, it's quite honestly, we would not be having the Super Bowl here in a few months without this hotel. That's how important this hotel is to the city of Indianapolis. So we very much appreciate that. And everyone here in the hotel clearly has been trained in Hoosier hospitality. So for all the Marriott folks, we very much appreciate that, because this is a great hotel to come into, and people receive you very warmly as you walk in the door. And that's extremely important to all of us here in our city. I really also want to commend the organizers of this event in coordinating with Back on My Feet as that organization launches the 7th chapter here in Indianapolis. And I know there was an event here this morning, which I very much appreciate. And we are really proud to support Back on My Feet, because they really help, and they emphasize the rebuilding from homelessness, and I know there's a lot of folks in here who work with that population, and it's a difficult population sometimes to work with, and now we have another partner at hand. And so I appreciate the fact that they're here today and that we are sponsoring them. So this is a great event today in so many ways, and really on behalf of the residents of Indianapolis and all the people who call Central Indiana home, I want to thank you, Bill Marriott, for recognizing the value of putting a hotel in our great city, and also for being here today. And I'm really proud to participate in this ceremonial unveiling of the JW Marriott's very unique icon that symbolizes its mission, and that puts the finishing touch on this much awaited and this new flagship hotel in the city of Indianapolis. So it's a pleasure to be here. This puts us on another level. When we put all these pieces together, people recognize Indianapolis, and when they come in here, it's always easy to find out. Talk to anybody who comes in here for the first time ever. They always come to me and they always say, "I never knew." And once you get them here, they're ours. They're ours forever, and they'll continue to be. Thank you for the great investment, and Mr. Marriott, thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ballard. We truly appreciate the support that you do give our industry, and being right there with our sales teams many evenings and afternoons, and a lot of time you spend with us. It's an honor for me to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Bill Marriott, because he was a big supporter of mine in a hotel about 11 years ago in the sales call process. True story. We had a very important site inspection with a group that was looking to book rooms for a 5-year program, and it was a very competitive situation, and we knew that there was one person that we might get to make a special call. So we're on the site inspection, touring the hotel, and my phone rings, and I said, "Hello," and the customer was right there by me, and I said, "Bob," I said, "the call is for you." And he said, "For me? On your phone?" I said, "Yes," and I gave him my phone. And who was on the other line but Mr. Marriott, calling to ask Bob and United Airlines for their business. And I'm happy to say that we closed on that business, and thank you for your support for the sales process there, Mr. Marriott. Mr. Marriott, yeah, a round of applause. Mr. Marriott is so passionate about the operation. He always reminds us of what's important in guest service. He has that spirit to serve that keeps us all grounded in what we do each and every day. And I can't think of anyone who better represents hospitality than the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of the Board of Marriott International, Bill Marriott.